Hello, Toastmasters. Do you have a younger brother or sister? Joanne? A few of you, yeah. Have they ever messed up your plans so much you just want to pound them? It was Halloween many years ago. I was in the 5th or 6th grade. And trick-or-treating was going to be epic that year. First of all, my best friend Arthur was coming over to trick-or-treat with me in our neighborhood. He lived a little ways away. But 2, we were going to get to go out with no supervision, no parents, no older brothers and sisters. We were going to be let loose. We thought this was the greatest thing in the world. We were going to cover as much territory as we could and get as much candy as we could. The only downside of it was my mother made me take along David, my younger brother. David was about 2.5 years younger than I. So as we got our bags and head out the door, I just told him, "You better keep up. We've got a lot of ground to cover." So he did his best. He kept up with us. And we went through that neighborhood so fast. We'd go to the front door, we'd give a trick or treat, we'd go down, and then we would just cut straight across the yard to the next house. We were on a mission, and the sidewalk was for suckers. We're not wasting time going down the sidewalk. We're going straight across the yards. And so we tore through the neighborhood, covered as much ground as we could, and went back to my house. So as Arthur and I pour out our candy to see what kind of loot we got, off to the side we hear this, "Hey, I don't have any candy. Where's all my candy? What happened?" And we look over, and David's standing there with an empty bag. So we go over and see what's going on. He would not lift up his bag when he was running across the lawns. And as it dragged along the grass, it wore a hole in the bottom. So at some point, every time a piece of candy went in, it just came out the bottom. If you wanted to, you probably could have retraced our trail around the neighborhood, just following all the candy we left behind. Well, my first thought was, tough break, dude. Then my mother came in to see what was going on, and I knew it was coming. She said, "Mark, you need to share some of your candy." I said, "All right." So I said, "Here, you can have this." She said, No. She promptly confiscated about half my candy and give it to David. That's when I just wanted to pound him for messing up my Halloween. See, to me, Halloween was just about the candy. That's why it was so important. I could get my full stash. I never cared about dressing up. I never read scary stories. I never watched horror movies. It was just about the candy. I can't tell you the first thing about Michael Myers. I can't tell you the first thing about Jason Voorhees. I can't tell you the first thing about Freddy Krueger. But I can tell you about candy. So for your elucidation, I now present to you, in focus, the 5 trick-or-treat candy categories. Number 5 is, what? Really? Oh, come on. This is candy that is not candy. This is people who want to feel good about giving out practical gifts, things people could use. They needed a lesson in what Halloween's about. It's about fun. If they want to give out something practical, they could have given out some Tums Day. That would have been practical. I would use that after gorging myself on candy all night. Number 4, is the Buzzkill. This is candy that is only considered candy by the most narrowest definition. This is the stuff that you wouldn't pick this out on your own. This is the kind of candy that is left till last. You've eaten everything else up, and you got this. And the only reason you eat this is because you still have that sugar jones. You still need that buzz. That has to do. Number 3 is when it gets good. Flavored corn syrup. That's the candy where you really start to enjoy yourself. There's nothing fancy about it. There's no coatings. There's no extra ingredients. It's just a lump of corn syrup with different flavors. And that's not a bad thing. That's, this is when you get the meat of your Halloween candy stash. This makes up the bulk of what you have. Number 2 is happiness in little bites. This is the candy that when you're at the store with your mother and you say, "Could I get this? Could I get this?" And she said, "No, you don't need it. Put it back. Put it back. We're not getting that today." Well, on Halloween, you get them all. You get this big smorgasbord of store candy to enjoy as much as you can. The number one Halloween candy is the Holy Grail. That is the full-size Hershey's bar. You get one of those, you've hit the jackpot. Don't always get this every year. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. In fact, if we found a house that was giving these out, we'd run down the block a little bit and try and rearrange our costume enough that we could get that and they wouldn't recognize us and they'd give us another one. So for me, it was all about the candy. When I moved out of the house, went to college, moved out of the house for the first time, I was at the grocery store doing my shopping. I walked by the candy section. I could get some candy, and I could hear my mother's voice saying, "No, you don't need any candy. We're not going to do that today." And it suddenly dawned on me, I live on my own. I can do whatever I want. If I want candy, I can get candy, and so I helped myself. But it was also at that point, Halloween ceased to have really any meaning for me. I didn't have to wait for that day when I could get free candy. I can get candy anytime I want. So there's no purpose in Halloween. So I don't want to be a killjoy. I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. If you like scary stories and horror movies, that's fine. If you like to dress up, go ahead and indulge yourself. It's just not for me. So if you are going to tell a scary story, I'll just sit in the back. And I'll try not to crinkle the wrapper as you're talking.